There was an episode, I think it was an episode of Toe to Toe, or it could have been an interview on one of the major YouTube boxing channels like IFL or Fight Hype or Fight Hub or Seconds Out. Uh, but there was an interview with Spencer Fearon somewhere, definitely not in this particular episode of Toe to Toe, where Spencer Fearon said that Luis Ortiz used to spar Lennox Lewis. Now, I remember Spencer Fearon saying this, and a lot of people are taking it as gospel. They think that this proves that Luis Ortiz actually did spar Lennox Lewis back in the days, and that means Luis Ortiz is extremely old. Well, maybe I'm wrong here, but the impression that I got from Spencer Fearon when he said in the interview I saw, maybe he said it in multiple interviews, I don't know, but in the one interview I saw with Spencer Fearon where he said that Luis Ortiz used to spar Lennox Lewis, I thought Spencer Fearon was joking. Like, he said it kind of with a smile on his face and in a jovial kind of way, and I just thought he was joking, because you know people like being sarcastic about Luis Ortiz's age. And so I thought that Spencer Fearon was just doing the same thing, just playing along with a joke and being sarcastic and saying, yeah, he used to spar Lennox Lewis back in the day, seriously. That's the impression I got, that he was joking. I don't think, I'd be surprised if Luis Ortiz actually did spar Lennox Lewis back in the days, because why would Luis Ortiz be sparring Lennox Lewis when Luis Ortiz was an amateur at the time on the Cuban national team, and Lennox Lewis was what, a heavyweight champion? I mean, maybe it did happen. Maybe Cuban amateurs do spar professional American-based heavyweights. Lewis, even though he was from the UK, his training camps were predominantly based in the United States. So why would they be sparring? Maybe they do spar, I don't know. But I just assumed Spencer Fearon was joking. Now, with regards to Luis Ortiz's real age, there are a couple of sources that I take more seriously than I did initially with Spencer Fearon. I take Spencer Fearon seriously as a source of information, but with regards to the Luis Ortiz thing, I thought he was joking, yeah? But there are other sources with regards to Luis Ortiz's age who, to me, were clearly not joking. And one of them is Amir Mansour. And Amir Mansour is in his 40s. And he has come out in interviews and claimed that Luis Ortiz is about 48 years old. And he said this on several occasions and reiterated it, and he's very serious when he says it. And he's given his reasons and what have you for saying it. He said the guy's like 48. And there was someone else recently on Ingram Jones. He's a matchmaker. I forget the guy's name. I keep forgetting his name. But he's a matchmaker. And he has also said Luis Ortiz is 48. This is a separate person than Amir Mansour, and they're given this specific age, like 47, 48 years old. And I've always felt Luis Ortiz is older than his stated age. He don't look like a 38 or 39-year-old man to me. To me, he looks older than that. And obviously, this kind of thing is common when it comes to African athletes, football players and boxers and stuff like that. Many African athletes will change their age to make it easier for them to get professional contracts in Europe playing football, and so do some African boxers. You know, they change their age, get fake documents or whatever in their country of origin, and then go over to Europe or America, and they can more easily secure contracts. Because if you're going over to try and secure a professional contract when you're in your mid-30s, good luck with that. You know, so they often lie about their age. Now, Luis Ortiz is obviously Cuban. Cuba's not in Africa, as we all know. It's in the Caribbean. But the people who defect from Cuba, not all of them leave Cuba with papers. So if they're not leaving Cuba with papers, and there's a lack of cooperation between the Cuban government and the American government, then potentially these Cuban people could falsify their age and make themselves out to be a lot younger than they really are. Perhaps they can get faked birth certificates or faked documents sent by relatives from Cuba. I don't know. But this is certainly a possibility, and it's a narrative out there that this is what Luis Ortiz might have done. And that same matchmaker actually said that Guillermo Rigondeaux is also older than his stated age. And he's another person who, when I look at his face, To me, he looks older than his stated age. You know, I'm in the same kind of age bracket as Guillermo Rigondeaux, and I look a hell of a lot younger than Guillermo Rigondeaux. And most of my friends around my age look a hell of a lot younger than Guillermo Rigondeaux. So I've always been skeptical about his age. And I'm talking about in the face. You know, Guillermo Rigondeaux still got the body of a 28-year-old, but his face look old. Right? So anyway, the point I want to make here is I wouldn't be so quick to say Ortiz is a certain age based on what Spencer, you know, I wouldn't be so quick to say Ortiz sparred with Lennox Lewis based on what Spencer Fearon said, because Spencer Fearon might have just been joking. I don't know. All right. And if he really is as old as other people, Amir Mansour, etc., have said he is, that's actually a damning indictment on Deontay Wilder, first and foremost, to be having such a tough fight, to be behind on the cards and having such a tough fight against a 48-year-old man or 47-year-old man. That don't look good for Deontay Wilder, okay? But at the same time, on the flip side of that coin, it's actually remarkable that Luis Ortiz, if he really is as old as 48, has even had whatever success he's had in his career. To be doing it at his age, you know, in his late 40s against guys in their early 30s, late 20s, to be doing what he's done, you know, what he did to Bryant Jennings, etc. That's pretty remarkable. One of the telltale pieces of circumstantial evidence that people often cite as a way of proving Luis Ortiz is older than his stated age is the fact that he was on blood pressure medication going into the Deontay Wilder fight. Now, some people have said he was on blood pressure medication because he was trying to mask banned substances, and that's obviously a possibility given the fact that he did test dirty. But at the same time, some people have said, nah, he's on blood pressure medication because he's older than his stated age. How many 37, 38-year-old athletes do you know that take blood pressure medication? Not many, right? Not many. There's plenty of people that age who take blood pressure medication, but not professional athletes. Yeah, you probably know somebody 37, 38, 39 who's on blood pressure meds, but not a guy who's a professional boxer and has been boxing professionally for many, many years and boxing as an amateur at a high level for many years before that. That's unusual to be on blood pressure meds at that age when you're an athlete, you know. So a lot of people have said, well, it just proves he's older than his stated age. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Do you think Spencer Fearon was just joking, as I suspect he was, that, you know, Ortiz was sparring Lennox Lewis back in the days when Lewis was in his prime? I've seen a lot of funny memes going around, you know, people posting black and white pictures of Luis Ortiz, you know, some Photoshop job of Luis Ortiz fighting in Vietnam, and why he'd be fighting in Vietnam. Well, I guess he could be potentially with Cuba on the side of Vietnam because it's a communist country. Anyway, yeah, pretty funny memes out there about it. But let me know what you think of this in the comment section below, people. It's happening. I'm out.